Complexity and simplicity in Qigong practice. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. So I am going to use a specific exercise later on to demonstrate some aspects of this topic in relationship to Qigong exercises. But first I'm going to talk about it a little. I think this is really one of the wonderful things about Chinese philosophy and Chinese practices as well, is it often within them we really obviously come across harmony between opposites. And we might think that that's a quirky little thing from Chinese philosophy, this idea that opposites are not necessarily in conflict, that they're actually, there's harmony in them. By exploring one, we explore the other. But it's not really. The Chinese philosophy is really an observation of the world, and a lens or a framework that we can use to help to understand the world around us. And so this is something that we see in every aspect of life. It's out there, but we might not think about it in this way, this idea of harmony between opposites. And of course this is part of yin and yang theory and things like that as well. And so within the context of what I'm talking about today, so complexity and simplicity in Qigong practices, we will find that Qigong practices sometimes can seem incredibly simple. You're like, wow, that's so simple. What's that even doing? Someone who's maybe skeptical might think, well, why would I even bother to do that? It's so simple. And then at the other end, when we dig into that same practice, let alone a different practice, that same practice, we discover it's incredibly complex. There's so much going on, within a single movement. And it's like, wow, that's so much to take in, so much to understand. But it's the same movement, simplicity and complexity within the same movement, the same exercise. And I think this is really helpful to understand in practical terms, particularly for someone who's starting Qigong, because sometimes people can come from different ends of the spectrum. Again, there's the skeptic who'll go, that's too simple, why would I bother doing that? And then there's other people who their nature or their way of thinking might worry about, if I don't get every tiny little single detail right, maybe I won't be doing it right, maybe there'll be problems, things like that. Whereas the truth is both are happening at the same time. And this is something that as we develop in our practice, we deepen into it, we understand better. One thing that I like to tell people when they're starting Qigong practice, and even remind people of later on in their Qigong practice, even after they've been practicing for a while, if you generally do a movement or generally do an exercise, you get most of the details right, you're going to generally get the benefit of that exercise. The more specific you are in the details of the exercise, the more specific those benefits are going to be. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get the benefits, the general benefits, by generally doing the exercise. Okay, so I'm going to look at a really simple exercise to talk about this a little bit more now. Okay, so you can see there's actually been a festival on here recently, just finished. So that's why there's a bit of a marquee and things like that in the background. Hopefully you're going to be able to hear me okay with me this distance from the camera. Alright, so this is the exercise we're going to look at. Super simple exercise that if you've done a little bit of Qigong, you're almost guaranteed to have done, because this movement is, it's in so many different Qigong sets because it's so simple and does some, important but simple things. This is it. Rise and fall. Playing with waves, lots of different names that people give different exercises. But this is the exercise. And so very simple, what are we doing? Well, I'm just lifting my arms up and down. That's all I'm doing. Super simple. How hard is that? And what good could it possibly do? Well, here's the key. As we do this, One, it's simple, so it helps us to relax. Our mind and our body relaxes. But there's some things going on inside our body. And the more we tune into it with our mind, and the more we become relaxed and aware of it, the more we can help this to happen efficiently. And so what happens is, as our arm moves out and away from our body, there's a force that returns into the body, equal and opposite forces. It's a natural, one of the basic laws of physics. I'm not going to go into the details of that too much here. There's actually an Introduction to Qigong Theory and Practice course, which is going to be a free course that will be coming out on longwhitecloudqigong.com reasonably soon. It's probably a little ways away yet, but I'll go into quite a lot of detail about, some of the real basics of how Qigong works, including things like this idea of equal and opposite forces. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe you can go to the website, make sure you sign up for the newsletter, and then you'll find out about that course when it comes out. But for now, equal and opposite forces. So there's a force that comes back into my body, and so as I lift my arm, the focal point of that force tends to be at the height of my hands. And so as I lift my arms, what this does is there's a force inside my body that comes up and then also down as my arms go up and down. So by raising and lowering my arms, it's actually creating a gentle pressure up and down through my body. What does that pressure do? Well, as the pressure moves through, it's much like moving pressure through something else. It massages things as it moves through and past. And as it massages, what does massaging do? Well, it stimulates the nerves, it stimulates the blood flow, it stimulates the removal of waste from the cells, there's more cellular respiration, etc., etc., etc. So simply by having this pressure move up and down in our body, or with our arms create this pressure in our body, we're massaging all the way through the cells of our body, gently, gently stimulating, moving energy through them. Qi, moving energy through them. So, some details about this. I could just stand here and raise and lower my arms, and it will move pressure up and down. But as I tune my mind into the sensation of the pressure and the energy moving up and down in my body, I can let it move through more freely and more strongly, and so it does a more effective job of massaging all those cells in my body and getting the energy moving. So what are some things that might come as a result of this? Well, one, I'll relax better, I'll open my joints more so the pressure can move through more freely. But in addition to that, I might also engage my legs so that my legs also rise up and down with the movement. So as I raise my arms, my legs extend, and as I sink, my legs sink down as well. And because of this, I find that the flow of energy becomes stronger, because now it's not just the movement of my arms creating this wave of pressure through my body, the action of my legs is also moving the energy, and it gives it a stronger effect. And so I start to coordinate these two together. And to begin with, if you haven't done this much, that might seem a bit tricky, but with a little bit of practice, the coordination just becomes very gentle, very easy. Some other little details we start to learn as we pay attention, as we go deep into this. Well, I mentioned that the focal point of that pressure will tend to be at the height of our hands. But as our awareness develops, we find that when we lower our hands and our fingers point to the ground, that pressure and that energy descends all the way to the ground. So the energy starts from the ground. As the fingers raise, it comes up through the legs. As the palms start to face the ground, the pressure then starts to rise through the body, and then it goes all the way back down. We can start to feel these very subtle, fine changes within our body, from very small changes of angles, how it affects the pressure, and not just the pressure, related to all the other aspects of the energy in our body, the electricity, the heat, so on, all those sorts of things. And so what it can look like just lifting your arms up and down, then becomes this tool of awareness where we stimulate all the different aspects of our body we become very aware of subtle mechanics as the energy moves through, rising and falling, circulating fluids, massaging cells, stimulating nerves, moving our chi through us. So just a simple example really, but you can hopefully start to see this idea of both simplicity and complexity existing within the same thing. Of course, some other Qigong exercises get much more involved, massaging different organs and stimulating the energy in very specific ways. This one, it's quite a general stimulation. But as I mentioned, well, hopefully this is helpful to you in your Qigong practice. Hopefully it can give you some confidence that if you don't understand every detail of a practice, that you can just do it anyway, and you're going to get most of the benefits simply by giving your best attempt at it. And also some understanding that as you continue with your practice, naturally you will get more detail, more layers of understanding as you continue with the practice. Of course, a good teacher can help you to gain that understanding faster, but often just by practicing, you're going to become aware of these little details piece by piece as you tune your awareness into what you're doing. I also mentioned this applies to every aspect of life as well. Both harmony and opposites is a general principle, but also this idea of complexity and simplicity coexisting. Sometimes when we want to do something in life, we really need to make it as simple as going and doing it. Whatever it is, just go and do it. Because lots of things are going to be very complex to actually do. And sometimes if we allow ourselves to dwell on that complexity, then that will stop us from doing it. Whereas if we just get in and do that thing, naturally the complexities arise, but naturally we also resolve those complexities as a result of simply doing. I guess a little example of this, I have a good friend who made a feature film. It's a few years ago now, which I had a bit of a role in, helping him with some different things as well. And he hadn't made feature films before. He had made some music videos and things like that, but he decided to just go and do it. And so he did it. And it was hugely complex and hugely difficult, but he went and did it, so he did it, and that has been an amazing experience and accomplishment for him, and a lot of other people who are involved with it as well. Whereas so many people get put off, or they think, no, they have to figure all the details out first before they go and do. And for so many of those people, they never end up doing. So yeah. Anyway, those are my little thoughts for this episode of Chi Life. Complexity and simplicity coexisting as a natural part of life. If you've enjoyed this vlog, I hope you like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.